した鐘の音は響く心の中へと広く深く物語のような星の雫その中に細い線路を築く Hello and welcome to the Nen Show Podcast. Welcome and welcome back for anyone who's been listening since Naruto and anyone who just decided to pop in for Bleach because we're starting a new series. We're starting Tite Kubo's Bleach. Yay!
Yay!
With me here is Mathwiz, and yeah, we started Bleach. I already said that.
I've got my hearty glass of bleach right next to me, ready for this show.
Yay!
I'm excited.
Everyone's okay. So before we get into Bleach, just on the off chance you haven't listened to our Naruto podcast, and I don't blame you, it's 41 hours of Naruto discussion. Holy shit! The whole series, the whole thing, the whole dang thing. That said, we're probably going to, or at least I keep thinking of like comparisons, not like major ones, but usually like even if just how I felt, and Naruto was good as like how did you put it, like a litmus sort of, but about like what Shounen can do well, what it can do poorly, and so it offers a lot of good grounds for comparison for basically any series in the future we're going to discuss. So not that you need to have listened to our discussion on it, but as long as you know Naruto, it just that'd probably help. But I guess on the subject of things Naruto related, one person wanted me to ask you about like who are our favorite Naruto waifus or whatever. So, but I forgot to ask. So, do you have a Naruto waifu, a Naruto best girl?
I guess
my favorite
not,
would probably be Hinata.
Like, I
just
can't
because
even.
Yeah, it's like Kishimoto female characters does not compute. But like I don't know, my favorite was probably Hinata because she's cute, I guess. Tsunade is probably the best character, even though there was a lot of problems with her.
It's like the most endearing female character, probably Hinata, but I wouldn't even call her like best girl because she wasn't that great of a character.
Exactly, like she's just cute. That's all she's got going for her. So it's like whatever. So yeah, I guess we're in agreement. Okay, so we're done with Naruto. Okay. So one last thing before we start getting into it is in the comments I'm going to put the sort of the rules that I have in mind when I choose a series to go on the list, and the massive list of series that we're not gonna fucking read all of them, Jesus Christ. But so if you want to add something, make sure it's in some way it follows the rules. I'm not gonna break down the rules here because I don't have them up right now, and of course it shouldn't be on the list preferably. So yeah, and oogle at our fucking massive mammoth of like 60, 70, 80 series, give or take. Fucking, it's ridiculous. And we're on number 2. Yay!
But at the very least, we're getting the big ones out of the way first. So
yes,
everything else will go by quicker.
This is like, I think the only other big ones we have are JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and Hajime no Ippo, which are both over 100 volumes. But like, even then, like, I don't think there's any other ones that are even 70 or higher, like these 3 that we're touching on. So yeah, these are the biggest ones. But anyway, to completely change the subject, I forgot to mention it last time. Last time as well, but we read Zombie Powder. We're not going to discuss it at length, but Zombie Powder was Kubo's previous series. It was only like 4 volumes long. It had a few of his one-shots in there too. I don't know, I guess like real quick, what did you think of Zombie Powder?
I guess to boil down my thoughts, I did put out a tweet. Zombie Powder was pretty meh, but Elwood is a good boy. I liked Elwood.
He was cool. Want to know who wasn't cool, even though Kubo really, really wanted me to think it was cool? Gamma. He made me want to die.
It's funny, because, like, they mention his name constantly. Like, I got very much so a Vash the Stampede vibe from this guy, but only if, like, you stripped away a lot of the nuance of Vash's character, and you just kind of had cool guy who's goofy. This Gamma
but it's like,
guy.
Oh, he fought with his left hand instead of his right hand because fuck you. He just, why? I don't, like, Kubo was very obsessed with trying to get me to think it was cool, and in his attempt, I ended up finding him very uncool and tiring, and I don't know, overall it didn't do a lot for me. I don't think I hated it. I wouldn't say, like, I don't know, it makes sense why it was canceled. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, it had good things about it, but it wasn't. Yeah, it just wasn't super gripping. Like, if you had told me that Zombie Powder had, like, 70 volumes of material, I don't think I would have continued it unless it was, like, for this podcast, obviously.
But But I will say, and you could probably agree with me that these opening volumes of Bleach notably better than Zombie Powder.
Yeah, they were definitely better than Zombie Powder.
Uh-oh. You've worded that in a weird way. All right, so also in case you're new, we do respond to comments from the previous episode. Except in this case when we're starting a new episode. So if you want to leave a comment, we might talk about it about the discussion that we have in this episode. We might bring it up next time. So, but I guess before we jump into the discussion, which I was about to do, I forgot. Personal histories. This is sort of how we go about spoiler discussion, because with Naruto we both had an experience with it, so spoilers weren't an issue. But with Bleach it's a little different. Like, what's your personal history with Bleach?
Have not read it, have not watched the anime.
Right.
I've heard
so basically
things,
you know
like
nothing.
I guess the extent of my knowledge on it is probably like Eye Patch Wolf's The Fall of Bleach video, and that's probably the most extensive I've ever looked into Bleach.
Yeah, right. So, and well, with me, I did try to watch the Bleach anime many years ago. I got to I've already experienced all this material that we're discussing today. I got a little bit into the next arc, the Soul Society arc, and I got bored and dropped it. But well after that, I'd listen to discussions because I was just it's a long-running series, so I'd pop into threads of people discussing it. So I picked up a lot of names, a lot of terms, some of the later plot twists. I think, I don't know the characters at all. Because people would only talk about what the character, does in the story, so I didn't really get a grasp of their personality if I hear a name like Grimjo or something like that. But that said, I still know some things, even reading through this stretch of chapters, there was one thing in particular that I'm not going to spoil, but I have it in mind later because there's something that I know that gets revealed in the future that sort of recontextualizes a couple parts of this stretch of chapters. But as far as spoilers go, I'm going to do my best to not spoil anything I know comes later because, this is basically our first time going through Bleach, and it might be the same for people watching or listening and reading along because, so yeah.
And I do think this will be an interesting test of talking about a show that, figuring out how we're going to do spoilers for the Nen Show. Because, for example, if we would read One Piece, I'm not very familiar with One Piece, but
right.
Craftsdwarf has read all of it.
Yes, I'll want to try to do the same thing because I hope people will be reading along, because with One Piece it's a popular series that's really long, so people have been probably avoiding it. But I know everything, so it's also
it'll also be good to kind of gauge what kind of a discussion we can have, because if not digging into spoilers sort of hinders the discussion, well then maybe we should rethink things for future stuff.
I mean, in this case, I don't think it hinders discussion because there's one thing I actually do get to talk about because they kind of showed it. We'll get to that later. But, and it's not even really a spoiler, it's just sort of a mechanic of the setting that, there's maybe a minor inconsistency, but maybe it'll get explained later. I'll bring it up. But, anyway, let's actually finally get into the discussion, I'd say, because I think I've said all my piece on spoilers, and, I mean, in the comments you can spoil all you want, just preferably maybe keep it, marked, just in case anyone else is going through the comments, just general common courtesy. I mean, I personally, if I get spoiled, especially on Bleach, I'm not really going to care, but, other people really do care about spoilers. I'm not one of those people, just be cool, be cool. Alright, so, finally getting a discussion, we are introduced to Ichigo Kurosaki, who keeps getting called Strawberry, which I'm pretty sure is a nickname, but, it's literally what his name means, so, he's your delinquent with a heart of gold kind of deal. He likes ghosts. He can see ghosts, cute ghost girls. And I gotta say, because we get introduced to his family too, and to compare it to Zombie Powder, because Zombie Powder also had four characters, but instantly, within pages, the dynamic between this family is just so much more lively and fun than anything in Zombie Powder.
We're talking about four main characters in Zombie Powder. Are you also including the girl who gets shot and killed in the first?
No, I was thinking there's the spy guy, there's Gamma, there's Elwood, and then there's the lady chick from later.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Tripod of Justice. I forgot about her.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. And I was like, what did those characters like do? Like, I don't remember much of their interactions. And
No,
but then just
nothing, nothing really from Zombie Powder sticks with you, like
exactly.
character-wise.
But just like in a few pages, like this whole family, like you get them. You get they all have their distinct personalities and the ways they relate to one another and or act to each other, and you just instantly like get it, and it's fun. And also, Ichigo's I think the older little sister, Karin, already much better than Naruto's Karin, like so much better. Not that that's a high bar to reach, but she's good.
Not that there's much competition.
Exactly. Well, I thought it was funny because it's like, hey, I recognize that name. I also prefer this one.
Now we can say the name Karin without wanting to vomit.
All right, so yeah, just lots of fun family antics. Because that's the thing. That's what I feel overall about the stretch of chapters of Bleach is there's a lot of fun, just enjoyable, goofy fun, and I appreciated that.
I'm trying to think of how I want to say this because like Naruto had comedy, Naruto had fun moments, but I don't know. I'd almost say that like I don't know if I'd say that I prefer these like moments of fun and just more like grounded antics stuff more to what Naruto had done.
Well,
I don't know. It was
say
interesting.
That, like,
it was
the
engaging.
Characters in Bleach are more at least likable at this point, even if like I mean, at this point in the story, Sakura was saying, "Man, orphans sure is good to be an orphan. You don't even have any parents." I'm like, Sakura, what the fuck, And Sasuke's being a little dick. Like Kakashi's cool. Naruto's kind of a loudmouth. So if someone's just read like this stretch of chapters and the first stretch of chapters in Naruto, I could see them liking the cast of Bleach better. Even if I think Naruto, especially later on, has more interesting elements. As far as like pure enjoyment, I don't know. At least reading the Wave Country the first time, like now I might like it more if I reread it now. But as I mentioned last time, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I enjoyed this stretch of chapters of Bleach more than I first enjoyed the first stretch of chapters in Naruto, just on pure enjoyment level.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, early on, I think it's much easier to get invested in the characters of Bleach than it was to get invested in the characters of Naruto.
Yeah, at least to a degree, but we'll talk about that
to
later.
a degree in certain aspects. Like, I don't know, these just feel, I guess, more like... I don't want to say they feel more like real people, but there's just like something about the way that they're characterized in a more sort of like nonchalant manner. Like it's not like, oh, they do this because of plot reason. They just like, I don't know, there's more that I can kind of get about their personality. Like I can kind of picture putting them in different...
There's like little details, like with Rukia, because we get introduced to her, she just comes in and does her thing. And then, like when she's explaining, Soul Society and Soul Reapers and Hollows, she's like doing it through these like cute images. And,
yes.
I just love the trope of like cute girls who like cute things. That always gets me. So it's just, I don't know, Rukia is cute. So.
Oh yeah, probably one of my favorite parts of this early stretch of chapters is when she gets first introduced. Well, I don't know. Is it okay if we just jump to that? Or
oh yeah, I was kind of getting to that point because I don't think we had much to say. Like the family, they're cool. The mom's dead. That comes in later. There's not much to say about them right now. But
definitely one of my favorite moments was just when she shows up and she's looking all dark and brooding and dare I say edgy. She's just coming in and she's like, "Oh, I've got serious business to do." And then Ichigo just walks up and kicks her and it's just so goofy and comedic and she's just flying away and it's like, what?
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck. But yeah, she's a Soul Reaper. She explains her deal is they deal with ghosts. They make sure they pass on properly. And Ichigo can see ghosts, so it can see Soul Reapers. She has also got like some magic stuff. The Reaper arts, I think they're called. She does a few of those. But yeah, it's exposition, but it's delivered alongside like just lots of little stuff like the reactions, and you get the dialogue. Like it's fine, this is stuff that needs to be established, and it's not like I'm not like drained like, oh boy, all this exposition. Instead I'm like, oh yeah, these characters are they're just interacting. It feels natural,
Mm-hmm. I do like the one little panel where Ichigo flips a table and there's a note attached to the table where it says, "Caution, for use in sight gags only."
I didn't catch that. That's pretty funny. Fucking Kubo. That's pretty good.
Yeah, very, very quickly throughout this story, and it only became more pronounced as we went along, but I feel like I'm far more invested in the little comedic bits than I am in the actual plot of the story, which is not a good sign.
But take what you can get.
Yeah.
Because I mean, yeah. I think I agree, and that's where I think the fun comes from. Like, what was funny about Wave Country Naruto? Like,
I mean, like, I certainly know that Kishimoto tried to, make jokes and tried to make things
oh
funny.
yeah,
but...
Naruto and Sasuke kissed. That's pretty funny, I guess. Like it's not. He definitely tried, but it didn't land. Like, well, because I definitely have some things to mention later. But for now, yeah, the humor is definitely good. So anyway, Rukia explains herself, and then a hollow shows up, and we're getting. I don't know, Ichigo's again. We just know his character. He's just he's what's the word I should look for? He was willing to put his life on line because he's a good boy, and it's not the most brilliant characterization, but it gets the job done, I suppose. We might go a little bit more into it later, but yeah, the hollow attacks. He goes after soul energy, so there's a bit of it's Ichigo. Is it Ichigo's fault? Was the hollow attracted here because of him? Is that why it attacked his dad? And the sisters and everyone. But anyway, then Rukia passes her soul energy to Ichigo. He becomes a Soul Reaper and like a really strong one somehow. Which okay, I guess we could talk about that for a little bit. How did you feel about Ichigo's being really strong, especially after Zombie Powder, which had Gamma being really, really, really strong?
I mean, certainly Ichigo's strength... Well, I don't know if I want to say that, but, Ichigo is at least, a better character than Gamma, however you're supposed to say it.
Yeah, I don't remember. Probably Gamma because Japanese pronunciation, but whatever. But Gamma is how I'm used to it.
I don't know, there was just... With Zombie Powder, there wasn't enough... I don't think there was enough there to kind of distract me from, this guy's just super powerful, and that's just not a character archetype that I particularly care for.
That's how I put it myself. Is just him being really strong could be used well, but he doesn't have nearly enough personality to carry it. Or with Ichigo, he does have a bit more personality, but he also kind of has no idea what he's doing. He's just really he's a giant fucking hammer that he barely knows how to use, but it's still a really strong hammer, basically. As we see later, there's no real nuance to it. He's always at full blast, kind of, but and he's still really strong. But I think that's what makes it more endearing, more tolerable. Because again, he's still learning the trade. He's very new to this, so it keeps him grounded a bit, while allowing room to grow. The question is how well that's handled later. But in these stretch chapters, I was pretty okay with it. And there is some more what the fight is just there's a hollow. He slashes the hollow. The end. There's not really much to say about it.
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, it's well drawn.
The hollows as enemies are not particularly engaging.
Yes, that's true. But there's maybe one exception later. But because I was thinking about how do we rate fights? And we were talking about emotional versus technical before, and I thought about it after the fact, and I was thinking that it could even be spread to emotional is pretty closely tied to thematic, the meaning of the fight, what it matters, what it represents, kind of. And then, but there's also aesthetic, how good the fight looks,
that too.
And because I didn't really think about it from those lenses during Naruto, but well, I think we talked about it, the themes of the fights, but I don't think I mentioned that, rating a fight. I think I just mixed it in with emotions, but, even though they're separate, really. And, but yeah, I will say the fights, are well drawn. Kubo, they're not, is it the best art? Maybe? I don't know, but it looks good.
You know, Kishimoto, some of Kishimoto did a lot with trying to, as we said, trying to position a camera, trying to come up with different angles to make things look cool. But I mean, there were certainly really cool panels in his shots or in his fights.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they were always, very aesthetically, I don't know. I don't think. I guess how I want to say it is that Bleach, with the way some of the fights are drawn, the way they look, they do, I guess, have more of an aesthetic impact than some of the fights in Naruto.
Yeah, I think I'd agree, because I'm trying to what were the most well-drawn fights in Naruto? I don't really remember, and if anything, I was usually poking fun at the art, that one double-page spread of Sasuke and Itachi just throwing endless shuriken at each other, just because I just find it amusing that shuriken are being used at all. And then, not that the art was bad, but it's just that's the kind of thing I would think about, just because that's the thing, the mechanics of Bleach are much simpler, so the fights are going to be much more simple. for the most part. So, there needs to be something there, and so decently drawn art is definitely something. And yeah, I did like the fights on a visual level, even though I normally don't care for it's not gonna make a fight good for me, even if it could be it's a perfectly valid reason to like a fight. But I more prefer the technical aspects, what mechanics are playing off each other, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's fine. It's perfectly serviceable establishing chapters, and Ichigo's a strong boy. Not sure what else there is to say about that. That was just the first chapter, though.
Although the way that this plays out was perhaps a little weird, because Rukia, she tries to transfer over her powers to him, but ends up giving, she only wanted to do that partially, but she gives them all over. So then at that point, she's already kind of that was her purpose to the plot, and she's lost her powers. So where does she go from here?
Right. So she's kind of stuck in the human world, but because she doesn't have any power, but she can't exactly get it back. So of course that's our main story thrust, is Ichigo's the substitute Soul Reaper. He's got to fill in for her while she's out of duty, basically so. But anyway, we get introduced to the school, and we see a bunch of the students, Orihime and Tatsuki, and what's the fucking short dude's name who gets all the ladies? I don't remember. Does he have a name? Mizuhiro? Is that it? Okay.
Sounds right.
Yeah, sure. But and of course Rukia's there, just all of a sudden. Much to Ichigo's surprise, that was a little funny. But also they call in the translation, as far as the translation goes, I don't think it's it's Naruto tier bad. I thought it was fine overall, but there's just Dark Force. I guess that's soul energy. I'm not sure why they called it or is that Kubo calling it? I don't remember that from the years ago when I watched this anime. I don't know, overall, it's enough that I can still tell what's happening, but they definitely slip in Japanese terms sometimes, but they use Soul Reaper instead of Shinigami. But then they use Gigai for the human bodies that Soul Reapers inhabit temporarily while in the human world.
What was interesting about that is that was a term that they always stuck with the Japanese one, but there was always a translator's note, underneath it. Where Naruto didn't really have any translator's notes, just didn't.
No, and that's the thing, is that these were translated around the same time, these early volumes, because they were all popular series. But yeah, there's definitely different translators that work in different series. But what's weird about it is that there's different translating styles at work too. You'd think V's would be okay, this is what you do. You have. But then I guess they approach each series kind of differently. Maybe they just gave their translators a bit more freedom. So obviously there's some no-nos, no batch of translation notes at the very, very end. But yeah, it's definitely worth noting. Again, there was one mistranslation later, but I'll mention that. But yeah, so we get little tidbits of the students, and we're kind of getting now that we know the base premise, we're kind of getting introduced to the more general this is how the story's going to go. In this case we get this conflict of duty and honor definitely seem to be the most noticeable themes in this stretch of the story. It's because with Rukia, she has and that especially comes in later, she has her duty as a Soul Reaper, but then Ichigo has to inherit that duty, but he doesn't have the obligation. He's just a normal guy, and that's what happens in this chapter, because you got the kid being attacked by the Hollow, and Rukia points out some potential hypocrisies in how he's approaching the situation, kind of convincing him to do her job. And I thought it was a fine little conflict.
That was definitely, I think, as far as themes, ideas go, that was probably the most interesting part of it for me, the most interesting moment.
Okay, yeah. Because, that kind of goes back to how I'd compare it to reading The Wave Country of Naruto. It's I do think, even though we had problems at the time, the themes that Naruto was exploring were more interesting than what Bleach is, going for. But Bleach was just more enjoyable, so that's where I'd divide my enjoyment between the two, kind of. So, but yeah, it was fine. You get another fight, just another quick fight of him beating the shit out of another, monster. Yeah, because, mindless monsters don't really make for great, action, or at least great fights, especially on a technical level I prefer. But, so what he's doing here is, the fight is about more than the fight. It's about their ideals, if Ichigo, again, if he fights, then, he has to, weigh what he's fighting for against what Rukia wants of him, because, she points out, you can't just, fight when you feel like it. You can't just yeah, it's solid. And well, because the other aspect of the the conflict is also just Ichigo in general. He's this completely new set of eyes to Soul Reaper society, and I imagine we're gonna get way more of that in the next arc. But so he's a lens with which to sort of reevaluate their what they do, what their traditions are, and we that comes again later with what's his face, Ishida, because he's the Quincy. But anyway, we'll get to that. So anyway, moving on. Because it's very episodic. So this the discussion is basically gonna be like, okay, here's this little chapter. Here's this arc, this brief little arc. Because that's of course we've talked about this before, but shonen stories are always structured. They're like you get like a bunch of like little things, and then you get like one bigger arc. Because later we get Ishida's arc, which was longer than anything that came before, and you get a couple like longer arcs, but
Yeah, I personally think that, like, even though Bleach had, like, more, like we were saying, more enjoyment, like, the comedic aspects were pretty cool, and a lot of, like, the family interactions and stuff, just getting to know the characters, but I almost prefer Naruto's introduction more, just because I feel like Bleach's is just really slow. Like, there's a lot of episodic stuff that it kind of kicks off with, and Naruto did have
I mean, very little of that, like, because it was just like it was the Team 7 formation, and around that there was a little bit of episodic stuff, and then it was right into the Wave Country. Like, that's the thing, this is 56 chapters, but with Naruto it was like 34 for just the Wave Country arc, I believe. So it's like it just kind of goes right into it by comparison. I mean, in my case, I didn't like mind it, but I also knew what to expect because I'd already gone through this material before. Because that's what I forget if you mentioned this earlier, but you were talking about how like this was. What did you expect from Bleach, from what you've heard? Because you said that this was not what you expected.
Well, just from like what I remember seeing of Bleach, like the different character designs I would see in images or videos or whatever, and just seeing this first part of the story where everything was very grounded, like like a lot of the things I remember are just like characters being in like wastelands, and they're in like these deadly battles and whatnot.
And everyone's wearing black robes, fucking everyone, literally everyone. But
then here it's like Kubo was very clearly trying to keep everything tied back to this sort of school environment. Like even at the end of these big hollow fights, like you still cut back and there are chapters at the school, and the more that kept happening, I was like, wow, he's still sticking with this. This is Like, I even sent you that image where the two characters pop up near the end of these chapters, and I'm like, oh, look, here come the real characters. Because, like, that's what I expected out of Bleach, like, characters that look like that, or,
Right. Which I totally get. Well, the way you put it made me think, like, oh, these guys are real characters, and, like, Orihime and Chad aren't real characters, and I'm like, okay, that's how it's gonna be. That's what I took it. But no, I get what you mean, because this is, like, it's very much, fighting like your Danny Phantom, your Spider-Man kind of like school and superheroing kind of like it's the same kind of that deal, like almost exactly. So it's I could see like if you're expecting like these big fights in weird locales, and then you get this, and it's like what the fuck.
Well, because like even with Naruto, like when you think of what it becomes, I can still look back at the Zabuza fights. I'm like, yeah, this is definitely Naruto. Like, this is what I was expecting.
Right. Well, because there isn't really much of a change. It's doing missions, fighting bad ninja guys, in going around places. Like, so I guess in that instance, it's not like there's not really a status quo. Like, Bleach establishes this status quo, and I imagine it's going to disrupt that. Well, I mean, it kind of does at the end of this stretch of chapters, but Naruto doesn't really do that. Like, Naruto, it's just, this is the status quo, and we're going to kind of follow that for X amount of time. Right.
Like, this is the world the ninjas in Naruto live in, so this is just what's going to happen.
Yeah. All right, so anyway, now we get into the first kind of arc with, Orihime, sort of the first of the other side character, or major supporting characters. So what did you think about this arc with Orihime and Sora?
This was the one with like her brother spirit, right?
Yes, her brother was the hollow. Like, so she's getting haunted by a hollow that's actually her brother, and it gets established that hollows were once people, and through killing them, they're actually like releasing their spirits, so they're no longer causing havoc on the world, basically.
I mean, it was fine, but like there was nothing super noteworthy about it. Like, okay, this happened, that's cool, but I wasn't super invested in it.
Well, yeah, it's like, because I think what really, like, speaking about the enjoyment factor, it's like, Orihime, okay, what's her character? Let's talk about her character for a bit. Because, like, she's the airheaded ditz, but it's like, she's nice,
also
later
not.
on she, yeah, or what was that?
Well, like, yeah, you said she's the airhead, but also not.
I'm trying,
kind of.
I mean, maybe. Well, it's like, or what did you mean by that? Like, by not? Like, I mean, there's obviously more, serious side of her character, like, again, just the shit she's dealt through. Like, well, that's the thing, is like, a lot of these types of characters, it's usually in response to something. Like, they're fun, because they dealt with some tough shit, and that's their, like, a coping mechanism, almost.
Okay, yeah, that's a better description of what I was trying to get across.
Okay,
was
yeah,
like,
that's
she
what
seems like the airhead, but she's actually there's more to her.
Yes, exactly. But, I mean, as far as, like, the airhead, like, I don't know, like, one thing I do like about her is, her style, like, her style of humor is very, like, weird, but it's like, so imaginative and just, like, bizarre that, like, there's this one bit here where she's, like, imagining being in the park alone with Ichigo, and they start running, and then they start sprinting, and then there's, like, a fucking, like, sprinter, like, like, sprinting with them in her mindscape, and then suddenly she's, like, a boxing champ, and it's just like, what the fuck is going on? Orihime, what are you doing? It's just so bizarre that I can't help but marvel, sort of, at just the weirdness of the humor. And then, like, later there's a joke where she's, like, drawing, and she imagines herself in the future as, like, a robot, and it's like, what? What?
Yeah, it definitely is out there. It's unique for sure.
Exactly. That's what and that was what was fun about it, because I feel like people might throw, LOL so random XD, but at least, like, it feels like it makes sense in her mind, like with her being a robot in the future, like, okay, future, there are robots in the future, what if I became a robot in the future? Yeah, let's draw that. And then, like, it makes sense in her brain, in her very weird brain.
You
so
seem to have enjoyed that aspect of her character more than I did. Like, it's not that I have a problem with it. It's just you seem to, like, really kind of like that, and I'm just a little I don't know, not as into it, I guess.
That's fine.
If that makes sense.
Well, it's like, it goes back to the just like what is her character? Like, she's not like anything like a great character. There's but she's like, again, I can enjoy it for what it is, and I think that's fine.
That's kind of like with me with Dataro, when I was like, he's my favorite character. You're like, what?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I was just surprised, that's all. But yeah, so they fight for a bit, and what this arc does, I guess, is it sort of establishes that hollows do have more humanity. Like, we start to see that later too, but like, because before this, the hollows were just like snarling monsters. Like, I feel like Kubo's realizing how limited his premise is in that regard, and he's trying to branch out a bit by sort of like, oh yeah, I should have actual antagonists here, not snarling monsters.
Yeah, maybe Kubo.
Or what was that?
Yeah, I said, yeah, maybe Kubo.
But yeah, you get the, and, well, it's that humanity that also sort of, saves him, because he realizes that, like, there's the whole, like, you forgot me, and she's like, no, I didn't, and, that's a dumb way of putting it. Like, it's fine. But yeah, it's also like, Ichigo, of course, has some, like, he's known Orihime for a while, but he's lost relatives, so he's able to connect with her there. And of course you get the bit where, she didn't say goodbye on the day that her brother died, but now she gets to say goodbye, finally, and did I feel emotions? I might have felt a little like, oh, don't do that to me. Well, because she says, like, she says, have a nice day, when I'm pretty sure I forget which, how Japan has all the, like, tadaima, they have these, like, little chants, almost, that they say on entering and leaving based on the context, kind of.
Yeah.
And she said the one for, that it's iterashai, I think, where, someone is leaving, and that's what they say as they go. But, she didn't say that on the day he died, so now she gets to say that, and they translated it as have a nice day. So,
it was good.
But anyway, it's fine, perfectly fine. But so anyway, one thing that I thought was weird, because this is based on so this is going to be minor Bleach spoilers. It's like, again, it's more of a mechanical thing. But so later on, it was really, you probably thought it was weird, but we were introduced to Grand Fisher, and he got, like, turned into, like, a dude instead of a monster. Do you remember that? You know what? I'll bring it up later, because then maybe it'll be fresh in your memory. But because because Sora takes off his mask and he vanishes. He basically, like, kills himself, quote unquote.
Oh,
like,
that guy, yeah.
Die. And later on, Grand Fisher, he gets turned into a person, and I believe like the masks are basically what happened is he became something called an Arankar, which are sort of hollows turned into human shape by removing their masks or part of their masks. And I'm just wondering, I don't know the difference between that and this. Like I think like maybe I just missed. I'm not sure. Maybe there's more to it to becoming an Arankar. But, like, I feel like, shouldn't Sora have become an Arankar from this? Maybe someone in the comments who knows a bit more about the mechanics later. Maybe it gets explained later, so you don't have, no one has to explain anything. But yeah, so minor spoilers there. But I just noticed it, and I wasn't expecting to bring it up this chapter, but Grand Fisher did get turned into an Arankar, like, this stretch of chapters. We saw him as, like, a person, and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? That's pretty early. So it's like, Kubo already has these ideas in mind. And again, I feel like that's also sort of fixing the problem because now instead of snarling monsters, he can have more human-looking opponents. But that's a future arc. So, but anyway, the arc gets finished. Orihime has her memory wiped, and she says goofy things, and everyone's like, "Well, it's Orihime." All right, and then so I guess anything else to say on that arc? Oh man. All right. So next up is Chad's arc with the parakeet in the cage.
It was funny because I remember first seeing this character design, and for a moment I had like a brain fart. I was like, "Oh my god, that's Aizen." I was like, "Wait, no."
That's pretty funny. Because I know what Aizen looks like, so I never would have had that. But no, that's fun. That's pretty good. Because that's the thing. It's like you don't know the material, so then you come up with these misunderstandings that are perfectly understandable, but at the same time pretty funny. Maybe that's a problem with Kubo's character design. Maybe it's a problem with your memory. Who knows?
Yeah, because like I thought the character looked sort of similar to a certain like iteration that I could remember, but maybe I'm just not remembering right. Because then like the more I looked at his character, I was like, wait a minute, no, that's not.
Yeah, though. I think Chad is like, well, because he's similar to Orihime, and like what's his character? What is Chad's character? Does he have a character? Does he have a personality? I don't know. But I still kind of like him.
Weird, because he's big. He's like the big hulking brute dude, but he's also goofy and likes cute things and stuff.
Yes, well that I like too. But also just like his endurance is so like fun. Like it's not just like, oh yeah, he's so tough and strong. It's like one of my favorite jokes is like, oh yeah, I got hit by a motorcycle. The guy driving it got hurt, so I carried him to the hospital. Like wait. What? You got hit by a motorcycle and you carried the driver to the hospital afterwards of the motorcycle. Like it's just like he's got like a fucking natural 20 in endurance, like or 25. He's just too strong. It's good. It's just funny, but because it's just so over the top, and it's like in a way that's like not like other than like him, like most of the human elements are more grounded, I guess. He's just like Superman for some reason, and it's fine. But yeah, so you get his arc, and he's strong, and he's being haunted by a hollow. But yeah, there's nothing much else to say, I guess, until you get to the fight, because Karin tries to help, and oh yeah, I guess that was a little weird moment. Oh no, I never mind. I figured it out, because I thought it was weird that because they had to write Ichigo out of the fight so Chad and Rukia could get a bit of time to shine. And I was like, wait, why doesn't Rukia carry Karin back to safety? But she's small, so it makes sense. While the bigger Ichigo would be the one to get Karin out of there. So I was like, okay, never mind. But
and also because she's in her Gigai, and so like she has even less strength than she normally would.
Right.
See, that's why I didn't have a huge problem. Like you could look at Rukia and be like, oh, it's the side character getting shafted because not main character, no plot armor or anything, but like it's very clear that like she's a strong character. She's just limited because Ichigo took all of her powers. So like I haven't had a problem so far with her kind of getting pushed to the side just because like she lost all her powers. There's nothing she can do.
Yeah, and I do I do like her personality. I do like her. I don't know. She's cute. I like she wears dresses. It's cute, and I don't know. It's like I'd say that at this point of the story, my favorite characters are probably Ichigo and Rukia. Just because other characters are entertaining, but they're probably just the most rounded thus far. I'd say.
I would definitely
so it's nice to see Rukia.
It's funny how we started this one off with like, who is your Naruto waifu? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a Naruto best girl waifu. I don't know. But like immediately, I'm like, yes, Rukia is great. Like that. Like the panel where she's got like the juice box and she's like, how do I drink this? And she just sticks it out and she's got that like cat face, not cat face, but like I don't know, the upside
Yeah, I
down
know what you
V.
mean.
It's just
Yeah, and
there's
then well, she was like reading like what was it, horror stories or romance stories to try and
Yes.
like get used to this culture. Oh yeah, and I love the joke later where like the Playboy, the short Playboy guy, he's like, I like older women, so he wasn't interested in Rukia, and then it's like he's 15, she's like in her hundreds or 300s
Yeah.
or something. You know, she's like really old because she's a ghost. She's been dead for a while, so I thought that was just a little fun gag. But
Also, I can definitely notice, like, Kubo, I can easily see Kubo's just enjoyment in drawing cool shit. Because, like, one thing I noticed was that, like, Ichigo, at least, like, before, when he's not wearing his Soul Reaper outfit, he's always got, like, a different outfit. Like, he's got a different shirt on or whatever.
And every cover page, like, just has all these characters in just unique outfits. Like, he goes, like, that's one of the things that people like about him, is he just does so much outfit variety. Which is kind of a shame that, you know, he spent most of the series, the characters are spent in fucking Soul Reaper robes, which look fine, but it's like, if that's, like, your only outfit, then goddamn.
Like, I can definitely see this being another appeal for people, like why Bleach was their shonen of choice. Because, like, most other series will have, like, the character, they have one outfit, and they stick to that for a majority of the story. Like, Naruto, he had the orange jumpsuit thingy. Not jumpsuit, or whatever it was.
Luffy, you know, if Luffy's not wearing a short sleeve shirt and shorts and his hat, he's not Luffy anymore, you know?
Yeah.
It's, but
But
Ichigo
with
wears a bunch
Ichigo,
of
he's
different
wearing
outfits,
different shirts. Like, he's just wearing different clothes. Like, this one, he's got a shirt that says, "Speaking is not communication."
Yes, I noticed that shirt too, because I was like, that's an interesting fashion choice there. Do you even like Kubo? Was that in Japanese or was that in English on the shirt? Because sometimes you get like the English, you know. So yeah, it was just stuff like that. But anyway, as far as the fights go, I would say that this one with Chad and Rukia against the bird hollow was probably the best one, like technically, like, because there's like, I just like that they have to, you know, he's the muscle and she's the eyes, so they have to like team up, and there's like the goofy panel with like where he's like holding her, Rukia, because he throws her into the air. And of course, like, Chad's strength is so fucking ridiculous. Like, he takes like a fucking telephone pole, he just rips it off the fucking ground, and he fucking bashes the hollow. And it's like, how can you not think this is at least some cool on some level? Okay, it's just so. And he didn't even see it. Like, he just keeps like swinging in the air like randomly because he doesn't actually see the hollow. It's I don't know. It's fun, and I like it. Like, there's nothing wrong with the series just being fun. It doesn't have to have deep themes. It could just be cool. I've said that before, actually. Yeah, so I did like that. And then you had the mechanics with the bird, the hollow has his like tongue. And I mean, did he really need to explain these abilities? Probably. I guess he didn't have to brag about. I don't know. He's bragging about them to helpless humans, whatever. But then later on, you had Ichigo. Like, I like the part where he takes one of his slugs and like shoves it into the hollow's mouth. And then he uses that to rip out the tongue, because if the hollow blew up the slug, then he would have blown up himself. So it's like a lose-lose situation for the hollow. And I thought that was like, hey, that's a smart fight thing. So yeah, like that's technically I'd say that this is the best fight thus far.
I also wouldn't say that it's like, compared to some of the more technical fights in Naruto, I don't think this is like anywhere close to that. But
well, even then there was just like Neji versus Kidomaru. But yeah, no, like again, relatively speaking.
Well, yeah, like out of all the fights we've seen so far, this one had the most like strategy going for it.
Yeah. So all right. So did we have anything else to say on the fight?
No. I mean, like, I like the goofy elements out of it. But just for this portion of the story, I can't really think of a fight, like any of the fights, except maybe the big one at the end that I was at all invested in. Like, things are happening and that's cool, but nothing like, oh wow, that's cool.
So anyway, yeah, the fight finishes, and we get the gates of hell, where, you know, more world building. We see what happens to Spirit, like, because, you know, he was like a serial killer, and that humanity turned, you know, fed into his hollow self as he was sadistic and stuff. And, you know, the gates of hell open and a giant fucking arm hit the hollow and just drags him back in, and it's like, what the fuck? That's kind of cool, I guess. What I'm curious is, like, did you have anything to say about that? The gates of hell in particular? Because I remember some fans, or go on, or did you have anything,
I mean, they exist. They're a detail in this fictional world, so...
Okay, because later on they start going to, like, the Soul Society and other sort of, like, planes of existence, I guess, and some people were thinking, I wonder when the characters are going to go to hell. And so I wonder if, like, I don't know. Do you think there's like a promise that the characters will go there from this like little detail? Like,
I don't think so. I mean, certainly the option is there, but then again, a lot of options are everywhere in these long-running stories. So,
yeah.
I mean, like if I was like, I didn't like from this, I didn't expect. Oh, well, then they're gonna go to hell at some point. This is clearly foreshadowing for that.
Especially not at this point in the story when there's no indicator that the characters will ever leave even this town, let alone the planet, the Earth and the human world.
This definitely is not like Goku running across Snake Way and being like, "Oh, if you fall off, you will go to hell" or whatever. Like the whole other world in Dragon Ball. Like, this isn't a big, like, I don't consider this as much of like a Chekhov's gun where it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely a thing that'll happen, or like a thing that could happen.
Right. Like, maybe if you mentioned it again specifically after they'd been, plane hopping for a bit, then I could see it. But just, as is, I think it's fine. But though apparently I think in one of the movies they do go to hell, like it's non-canon. But sure, cool. The movies took that idea and ran with it. That's fine. But I don't even know if that's true, because I don't know that much about Bleach. I just vaguely remember discussion of it. So, but anyway, they finished the arc. The kid in the bird gets to pass on, and he has a goodbye with Chad, and it's cool. It's over. The end.
I did kind of like how he says, like, oh, when I die or whatever, can I still carry you around in your cage or whatever?
Or, well, I think probably on his shoulders or something. Yeah,
or something, just carry you around.
Kind of, yes.
But that was cute. I do like how Chad, like, this comes up again later in like the one-off chapter with whatchamacallit. But yeah, that's later.
Well, okay.
I just like Chad in that he's the super big guy who just likes cute things.
Yes. Oh yes, I remember the chapter you were talking, because I love that moment too. But all right, so anyway, moving on, we get a little bit more world building where we are introduced to Hat and Clogs, aka Urahara, who's a weird old guy who owns a shop that has magic or Soul Reaper stuff, so Rukia is in contact with him.
I did think it was kind of funny how, like, they do introduce him and then he kind of goes away for a bit, and then later when they bring him up again, they don't refer to him by name. Instead, Ichigo says Hat and Clogs, because I was like, wait, I remember he had a name, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, well, Ichigo didn't know his name either, so I knew the name Urahara because I just know he's one of those characters I just remember, and I remember people talking about him.
But I did think it was kind of just thinking that this would have been being published weekly, and so after being gone for X amount of time, maybe the people, because like he didn't have like a huge presence when he first showed up, like his first cameo, and he wasn't there for super long. That like, oh yeah, this was the guy.
So I did think it was kind of this character is going to be important later, and more like, here's how, let's introduce the colon patsu or whatever, the soul pellets and colon and stuff. Like, that's kind of what it's there at first, but then it keeps coming back. He shows up at least 2 more times. So
I mean, it was very clear, like, from his character design, like, oh yeah, this guy will probably be important later, but it was like his first moment wasn't striking enough that I'll immediately remember who the guy is. So
right.
And I think Kubo kind of recognizes that, because he's just like, Hat and Clogs, that guy.
Yeah, that's everyone will recognize him if you refer to him by his appearance, or everyone will remember him. But yeah, also I like the little moment where Rukia gives Ichigo the soul candy dispenser, and he's like, why a duck? And she's like, well, I couldn't get the rabbit. And it's like, she's cute.
Yeah, I have that here as well. He's like, so I like bunnies, and she's just all flustered and whatnot. It's great.
The blushing is just like my heart. I don't know, blushes are cute.
I really like Kubo's like comedic drawings as well. Like, I know it works well with, like, to contrast his more like the high detailed artwork that he does with other, like, his more serious style. But then he's got this weird, like, goofy, like, sometimes the characters don't even have mouths and it's just like faces.
Yeah. Like, he deforms them a bit. Yeah. Like, he's definitely a good artist. Like, I feel like even if I don't necessarily like deeply connect with the emotions, I can, like, I know what he's trying to do, and there's nothing technically wrong with it. Like, he does what he needs. Like, like in the first chapter, like, Rukia had like a couple panels where she just looked really serious, and then she'd have her panels where she looked goofy, he knows what he's doing, so
yeah, that's the thing with someone like Rukia. Like, they're even if these are just gags, like, they're giving more insight into just her character, and it's not even like heavily plot related things. Like, oh, she likes bunnies, so rabbits are going to be a big plot point later in the future. Like, no, she's just, this just a thing.
So Kaguya is going to come in at the end.
No!
Because she's a rabbit, and Rukia likes rabbits. Wait, no. Even in Bleach, you can't escape Kaguya. She just keeps coming in at the end of other manga, just randomly, just like...
She just becomes a running
the final
joke
boss.
in
No, never mind,
Shounen.
it's Kaguya. Blackbeard's the final boss. Never mind, it's Kaguya.
Oh, no. But yeah, I think that's just why Rukia stands out to me more than, like, any Naruto girl. Is just, like, there's just all these little things. And even though, like, what has she really done in this stretch of the story? She got her powers taken, and she's just kind of there. But she's
an info dumper, but she's still, like, even though she's... what's the word? Even though she doesn't have any powers, she still does everything she can. Like, she's using her soul arts every time. Even if she's not effective, she's still, like, she's putting an effort. She's trying, and it's cool. Like,
yeah,
like it's consistent. It's not like Sakura where she gets like one character moment, then she gets forgotten for another 50, 100 chapters. So yeah, she's consistent. And I think that's good. But anyway, I guess moving on to the arc, because we get the Cullen arc, where he's the soul, what's Maud's soul? That was it. He's sticking around in Ichigo's body, causing havoc.
It's funny how, like, you're referring to these as like arcs, and yeah, they do take multiple chapters. But I'm like, if these are actual story arcs, then I feel like they're, I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure what else to call them, but short arcs. Like, it's not. This isn't
really short.
Are you gonna call this the
arcs.
Yeah, like, are you gonna call this the Soul Reaper Saga? Maybe like they'll substitute Soul Reaper Saga, and then
because obviously, like you really kind of have to tie all these things together. It's not like, oh, we're covering the X arc, and this is everything that happens. Or I mean, like, I think it'd probably be the same with like My Hero Academia or something, because that has a lot of tiny little sub arcs, but I'd imagine they all tie together in a bigger thing. But like, I don't know. There's just something about, like, I get that these early little story portions are just setting up details to expand on later, and like just setting up things of the world, but I don't know, there weren't really any of them that I was like super invested in going through, like other than like the characters being like, this could easily like, I think what I'm worried about with Bleach is that like I said at the beginning, I'm more interested in like the comedy aspect, like the more slice of life stuff than the actual actiony bits. So it's like when the characters are just dicking around and just, being high school students.
I wonder what might help in theory is maybe, or at least for you, because I'm fine with it being just fun for now. But like, imagine if we knew where it was going, for better or worse. Like, to compare to Naruto, I wasn't super into. There were some problems with it. There were some things I liked. But if I knew where the series went, then I would see like, oh, these problems continually happen, so they're not that bad in retrospect. Or like, oh, this thematic idea is here. Well, now with the whole series in mind, I can look at it on the broader sense. So, or what was that?
Well, I'm not saying that like this is a bad introduction or anything. It's just like trying to think, are these like I know that going forward, Bleach is going to have more, like, the stakes are going to be raised and things are going to get more serious. And so, like, these battles, like, I guess I'm saying, like, if I'm not really invested in the battles now, what is going to change that is going to make me invested in the battles later?
That's the concern.
Which, it still can happen. Like, maybe Kubo realized, like, obviously, near the end of this portion, like, well, I mean, even just at this point, like, he's having things, like, before the, what are they called? The Hollows, they're just kind of, like, monsters, and I'm not super invested in that. So like, he does try to add some character to some of them.
Yes.
But yeah, at this point, I'm just kind of thinking like, if Bleach was just like a little, like a high school comedy manga, I'd be cool with that. But I know it's a big shonen action thing, so we'll see where it goes. We'll see if it can keep me invested in those aspects. Because so far,
yeah.
I mean, like, not that I'm like. Not that it, like, offends me or anything, but just, like, so far, I'm there. I'm reading it for the Nen Show.
Yeah.
I guess the difference is, like, with Zombie Powder, the only reason I finished it is because, like, even if it wasn't for the Nen Show, I could finish Zombie Powder because it was only 4 volumes, like, 30 chapters, so there's not much going out of it. Knowing that Bleach is, like, 700, like, if I wasn't reading this for the Nen Show, I don't know what I'd be feeling at this point.
Because I definitely felt the same way back when, because I dropped it a little later after this, so I was probably feeling the same way as you are now. But I don't know, going back to it, it's fun, so I like it. I don't know. But the question is like how long is that going to last? How long will my enjoyment of these characters carry my enjoyment through the rest? From what I know, I don't know. I want to like it, but it's not up to me whether or not I like it. It's up to Kubo to make me like it. And in your case, he's not getting you invested, and that could be an issue in the future.
Yeah, because you said, this early portion of the story is fun, and I like the fun moments. The fun moments are fun. The serious moments are where it kind of loses me.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it lost me, but I mean...
it hasn't lost me, but I'm just I don't know.
It's fine. But anyway, I guess what's a little different about this arc is you have the sort of spirit antics affecting the school, so you get to see, you see Orihime's group of friends, and Colin comes in and he kisses Tatsuki, I think, and she gets super fucking pissed and just starts destroying everything. So... Anyway, but then moving on. What I thought was interesting is that everyone's sort of because Ichigo is he's kind of he's a little bit of that delinquent character, but it's everyone recognizes that he's a nice guy, even though he never smiles, and then he's also one of the top students in his class, as we find out. Wait, what the fuck? That I mean, it makes sense as he explains it, but it's also it's not something you expect from a character. Well, even chat, everyone's smart except for Orihime, I guess. But it was just wait, okay, sure. But yeah, it's because he's respected by the student body, or at least because they go out to of their way to sort of they don't throw him under the bus, even though he just caused a lot of shit from their perspective.
Yeah, because it's not there's Ichigo, that dick.
That delinquent who's
that. Yeah.
This is just a Tuesday, Ichigo. That's not his character. He doesn't do this shit normally. So, or even Orihime, she just recognizes that just straight up that was not him, and it wasn't, of course. So I thought that was I thought it was that's cool, that's a thing. But
I think it would be I haven't actually seen Yu Yu Hakusho, but based on what I've heard, I'd be interested to kind of compare. Once we read Yu Yu Hakusho, I'd be interested to kind of gauge. I already forgot his name, and I just had it on the Yusuke. To compare Yusuke to Ichigo, because based on what I've heard from him, this sounds a lot like him. So
yeah, well, I would say from what I remember, Yusuke is definitely more. He's way more of a delinquent. So the Heart of Gold moments probably stand out a bit more. But also there's less school stuff because Yu Yu Hakusho starts when Yusuke fucking dies. So he can't go to school as a ghost. And when he does come back, but by that point it's more of the what later Bleach is, where it's just long arcs of going out of the human world and into doing other things somewhere else, which is, I guess. We'll talk about that when it regards with Bleach, but that's definitely a point of comparison to consider. So, especially when we read Yu Yu Hakusho. So,
what was interesting about to kind of, I guess, go back to Bleach, but what was interesting about this portion of the story, because we've already covered some of the arcs where the characters are getting involved. It did. Some of the things that were happening did raise potential questions, some of these characters can see these spirits, but not others. Yes. So it's why is that? But I mean, they do get answered, at least to a degree. They get answered later.
Right. Well, because the explanation is that because they're so close to Ichigo, who's constantly exuding large amounts of soul energy, they just sort of pick that up. Because even characters who Orihime, as minor spoilers, Orihime and Chad get their powers later, but Tatsuki doesn't, but she can see ghosts. And I guess, while we're on the subject, I kind of like how nonchalant she is about it. She's oh yeah, I can see ghosts now. Huh, that's interesting. Wait, okay. She doesn't make a big deal of it, which was neat. But anyway, back to this stuff, because, you get a bit of the sort of conflict here. Again, sort of just the Soul Reaper duty against Ichigo's, his own personal lens as a human, where they talk about sort of, because it's and that's sort of where Rukia's sort of conflict is sort of being built up to, because she has her, she's split between her duty as a Soul Reaper and what Ichigo's input sort of says, and so she decides to spare Colin in the end when her as a Soul Reaper she should kill him. That's her job. That's what she's supposed to do, but she decides not to. And that's what's sort of brought up, because, they've sort of does Colin deserve to die? He was as he says, he was born to do as he was doing as he was created to do. They just decided that they don't need him. And that's kind of fucked up. So, there's little bits of conflict there.
Yeah, this was cool. Probably the part that I think, up till this point that I maybe enjoyed the most, just because, the conflict with Colin was interesting, that, he's... I don't know, like they created him for a purpose, and it's like, oh wait, no, we don't want you to do that purpose anymore. So they were gonna kill him. They killed everybody, and I almost like it's weird to kind of say this because Kon is such a goofy character beyond this point, but like I was more invested in his struggle than the Quincy who shows up later.
I can see that.
And I know that the Quincy is probably going to be way more significant down the road.
I know as Quincy is in general, like that's going to be a big thing in the future. But yeah, that's fair. But I
mean, granted, yeah, the plot with the Quincy's could be more interesting later when it's expanded on more. But I don't know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the future. We're getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, like so yeah, Colin, he's because he's a mod soul, so he's strong too, and so he's actually able to fight some of these hollows. Like actually, I just noticed that like this hollow is back to a monstrous hollow, like without personality, because that would just distract from the conflict between Kon and Ichigo and Rukia. Like there's enough going on here that Kubo didn't feel the need to give this hollow a personality.
Yeah.
So I thought that was I just noticed that right now, and I was like, hey, storytelling. But yeah, like they sort of again they resolve the conflict. They decide that Kon should like he says he should have the right to live and die freely, and Rukia agrees, even though that goes against her duty as a Soul Reaper. So not sure if I had anything else to say about this arc. I mean, Urhar shows up again, being all mysterious shopkeeper boy. Oh well, he started this shit on accident. So all right, so moving on, we get I guess this arc is focused more on Ichigo now, isn't it? Because we get first though, Kon, we find out he gets there's that panel you liked because you tweeted it. Ichigo and Rukia just sort of sitting there intensely waiting for a cat to get run over because they need a body to put Kon's soul pellet in for casual storage.
But it also has to be
settling on a stuffed animal. But
yeah, because it has to be a body because like if they put him in a body that has a soul already, then they're kicking out that soul. So it's like, what do we do?
Right. But yeah, they're just like sitting there watching the cars just so intensely. It's I don't know. They're fun. But yeah, so they get that taken care of, and Kon's he's a pervy guy. Sure, okay. But anyway, we get like again, this arc sort of goes into a bit more into Ichigo and his backstory, which I think is kind of interesting. Like we already know Ichigo's character, we know his family, we know sort of how they interact with each other, but only now, like a couple volumes in, are we getting like why is he this way, and sort of the backstory, and we get introduced to his mother, whose death really shaped how this family acts, and kind of neat. And also kind of like how you have like. You both have Ichigo and Rukia talking about it, and it bounces between that and Tatsuki and Orihime talking about it. So you sort of have it being told, the same story being told in two different like parts. So you're sort of able to jump between and see everyone's reaction to it without hearing the story twice.
Yeah, that was neat.
And the different perspectives give different like Tatsuki only has her perspective while Ichigo has his perspective. So yeah, it was fine. But yeah, anyway, Ichigo's mom died because it was his fault, maybe, and once she died, his smile was gone for good, and yeah, it messed up the family. But then, what a coincidence, on the same day that they go to, on this day, now that they meet the same hollow that probably killed Ichigo's mother, the Grand Fisher. And so I guess, what did you think about this fight and conflict? I know I'm putting you in a hard position by asking you because you've been struggling to say stuff. But I'm doing it again because
I mean, like, I guess this hollow has a personality. It's just super evil. Kinda. It's not mindless monster, but it's super evil monster man.
Well, I guess what I thought was weird about this arc is because you have this like bit where like Ichigo he wants to fight one-on-one. And he talks about his honor, and I thought that I was like, okay. Well, because it's, logically it makes perfect sense to if Rukia can help, why not? But, he sort of brings those up. But then later he kind of like
Yeah, because she shows up and she's like, well, I wasn't going to... He's like, about time you got here. And she's like, I wasn't going to show up because you told me not to. And
that's what I thought was weird is, but then I sort of talked about, but then I sort of realized it in the, in the idea of sort of honor versus duty. Like, this is his duty to stop the Soul Reaper. Like, as his duty, like, the best thing to do would be to get as much help as possible. But he wants to do it one-on-one. So then, like, you have sort of, and from what I know later, there's going to be more one-on-one fights. So I wonder how this idea is going to be expanded on in the future. Because sort of as is, Ichigo gets help, and Kingfisher, he's not able to succeed in beating Kingfisher. So, like, just to look at that from, like, sort of, like, what does that say? Then did he lose because he got help? Because he wasn't fighting with the honor he proclaimed he wanted to fight with? Or did he lose because he didn't focus enough on his duty, and he should have had Rukia helping from the beginning? Like, I want to see where that sort of idea goes from there before I sort of, like, conclude my thoughts on this fight, basically. Because that's sort of what I took from it, at least. Was trying to take from it. Maybe I was looking too deep into it. I don't know. I do that.
Yeah, I know I didn't get a whole lot out of this fight. Like, you're talking about these ideas that it was looking to explore, and I'm like, oh, those seem kind of cool, but...
Well, not necessarily on purpose. It's just, the thing about themes is that, like, they happen automatically, or you can read themes into basically just about anything, and it's up to the sort of author to sort of, like, manage it and how deep... Like, I'm not even saying he did it on purpose. I'm just saying that that's what I got out of it.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, especially duty has been common up to this point with Rukia and this conflict between Soul Society and Ichigo, and then Ichigo has this honor thing that I guess it's not out of nowhere, maybe? I don't know. It didn't come up against the Bird Hollow, so, I don't know. But again, it is personal with the Grand Fisher, because that was the one who killed his mother. So, yeah, but then again, like I said, it goes away, like, later, and he was like, I was waiting for you, Rukia, and it's like, okay. So, yeah, it's definitely a bit messy, but I'll keep it in mind for the future.
Yeah, I know I definitely wasn't invested in the villain, really, at all.
Yeah.
Like, I liked the personal conflict for Ichigo, but I was kind of surprised that, like, the villain gets away, and it's like, oh, so this thing's gonna come back up again later.
Yes.
That's...
Well, and I mentioned it before, how he becomes an Arrancar, and then, because you even see that on that page, there's, like, another Arrancar there with, like, most of his face hidden in a mask, but you can see a human eye. So it's like, Kubo already has this idea planned. And he was sort of like foreshadowing it here, but so we'll see. I don't know what role he has in the future, Grand Fisher. I don't know that, but I do know he comes back at least once. So we'll definitely get more of this. Like, that's kind of the thing. It's like they're setting up for the future by ending it here like this. So
yeah. Although it is one of those things where, like, I wasn't super invested in the conflict, or at least, like, with that character in the first place. So then it's like, well, it's going to come back later and probably be more important. So I'll be interested to see if they can, if they switch up that character a bit, or if they frame it in a different way that gets me more interested. Because right now it's like, that's not really a plot thread that I'm super interested in, revisiting.
Well, you better be, because you're going to talk about it for at least 3 hours when it comes back up on the Nen Show. No, it's fine. But, what I was going to say is, like, because thinking back to Naruto again, because we can't go 5 seconds without mentioning Naruto, but it's just, like, I liked how Kishimoto did grow as a storyteller over the course of Naruto. But it's like, with Bleach, people say Soul Society is the peak of the series, and after that it just goes downhill, and maybe that's true, but at the same time, I do wonder in what ways does Kubo improve as a storyteller over the course of Bleach, and in what ways does he suffer, or does he fall in, I don't know.
All I will say is if Soul Society is actually the peak of the series, I'm very worried for where the series is going to go, because...
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, because this stuff is also pretty well liked, or at least relative. Like, yeah, basically it's like this arc in Soul Society, and then after that people don't give a shit. Which I'm like, oh yeah, I could see, especially from your perspective, I could see like that being worrying. So,
because like the difference,
I don't know.
Because like we were. I mean, Naruto's going to be the point of comparison until we finish Bleach and other series, but
yes,
like with Naruto, I can even though we weren't super positive on the Land of Waves arc, like I can still look back on that and think, like, if I'm going to revisit Naruto, I would definitely look forward to rereading the Land of Waves arc. But with this, I'm not super like, yeah, I'm ready to go back and Like, by the time the series is, or I don't know, I don't see myself, at least at this point, looking back on this stretch of chapters and being like, oh yeah, I'm real excited to revisit that.
Yeah.
It's just sort of a thing that, like, I did enjoy it while reading it, but that staying power isn't quite there. It's not quite the same.
Right. Well, that goes back to what I said about, like, Naruto being less enjoyable, at least at the time, but more interesting. Because, even if you're not enjoying something, if it's interesting, you're still getting stuff out of it. So if you don't find Bleach that interesting, then yeah, it's not gonna. There's no staying power there. Like that's that difference, I suppose. But anyway, so you get a scene with Ichigo talking about his dad, or talking with his dad about the mom. And then talk for a bit, and then they sort of Ichigo resolves that he wants to protect the people. He doesn't want to like he was protected by his mom, and that's why he has his life. So he doesn't want to waste that sacrifice. He wants to do the same thing. He wants to protect other people too. So I guess that kind of gets mentioned again later. Just the idea of protecting people, especially in the I guess the next arc, if we're getting into we're getting into the Quincy, into the Ishida stuff. But
and I guess that does sort of close off. Well, maybe not really, but like he was before in the conversation with Rukia, where he's like, well, I don't really want to save everybody. Like, I'll do what I can. But now it's sort of recontextualized, where he's saying, oh yeah, I will. I might not be able to save everybody. I'm not Superman, but I will try to save as many people as I can. Or maybe that comes up later. But
yeah. That's a good point. I didn't think about that, because he's become, or he's given himself a duty, so to speak. To put it in the words I've been using thus far. So he's definitely accepted his role as a Soul Reaper to some extent, even if it's by his own definition. So yeah, that's a good point. But maybe that is later. So anyway, I guess if that's all we have, is that all we have to say on the Grand Fisher stretch of chapters?
I mean, well, no, I could talk more about what I was going to say later.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Because it's not a completed plot point at this stage.
All right, that's fine. Because finishing up this, Grand Fisher becomes an Arankar and swears vengeance against Ichigo. Who's, I guess, one of the few Soul Reapers to escape him. And we get a little... I don't know if these characters are going to show up again. The ones who... Because there's, at least two Arankar there. There's one with only an eye showing, and then one with the mouth showing. Maybe that one's not even an Arankar, I assume. But,
It's funny, you're talking about, Arankar, because you know what they are. And I'm just like, yep, that exists.
They basically just think... Well, what Grand Fisher is after he transforms into a person. He's just a hollow that gets turned into a human shape. That's all that I really know. And I just know that there are other characters like this. So
I see.
Yeah. But anyway, back to we're done with that arc, and it's we get another comedy chapter with Kon, and the one where he gets sort of a day alone, and he tries to find someone else to be with, and he just gets a lot of antics. He gets knocked around, it's slapstick, and he's like, I want to be with the girls. They're girls, cute girls, and everything goes horribly. And of course, you get the one moment that we mentioned earlier with he's getting chased by the one who knows him talking and was interested in him.
And she's like a track star, so she's like super intense, and it's like, oh no! But
and then Chad sees him. And then he's suddenly right by her, and it's equally intense, and there's just an arrow pointing him, and it's like, loves cute things, just to remind the audience, and I love that part, just because Chad's fun like that. He's just, and again, it's just, that juxtaposition, because he's like this big, muscly dude with a super serious face, but he likes cute things, so it's like, okay, so yeah,
and it's also it's also pretty funny just to see the same panel sort of replicated, yes, but before it's like more, I guess more like, I don't know, it's still a joke, but it's still kind of serious, because you've got the track star running after him, and it's like, oh yeah, that's her thing. And then he shows up and he's right in stride with her, and it's like, what?
yeah, it's probably the best part of the chapter, because I was definitely remembering it too. But anyway, so
I did think this one chapter one chapter in isolation was interesting, considering again what I expect of Bleach is more obviously I've learned differently, but this one chapter, which really, it's about a side character, Kon, who I don't know what relevance he's going to have in the story beyond this point. So far, he's just been a gag character. So it's it's not a chapter that's advancing the plot or anything. It's just a little fun gag little chapter. And I thought that was interesting because you don't get something like that.
Well, really, I guess it's the same logic as with the QB training arc, just on a smaller scale. You get this Grand Fisher arc, and then you get Kon, this little levity, this Kon chapter, and then you get the Don Kanonji arc, with it, which is again going into a bit not as serious as the Grand Fisher, but still a bit more serious. So at least later on, not at first. So I guess that's what I just realized, that like thinking about the whole tonal pacing of the entire series up to this point, or at least these in between these arcs. So I guess that's what the purpose it serves. And it is just a fun little chapter. Because it ends with he gets taken in by Yuzu, and then he's like, nope, Ichigo and Ryuki are best. I'm sorry. And that's it. That's the end.
Yeah, I can't think. Did Naruto have like a little self-contained, like, other than like the episodic stuff that kicked off the series? Like, I can't really think of one where it's just like, here's we're gonna follow this character around, and it's a big, lighthearted, goofy chapter.
I mean, there was like apparently a bonus chapter where it was never in my volumes, so I don't know where it was compiled in, but it was the one where it was probably in the anime as a filler episode, but it was when Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura were trying to find out what was under Kakashi's mask.
Yes, I did see that episode in the anime.
Right.
But like,
I don't know how much they like lengthened it out, but it was a chapter in a bonus chapter. I just don't know where that bonus chapter came from because I had all the volumes downloaded, all the official English release, yet it wasn't there, so I have no idea where that was supposed to be like read, because it would have been in part. It would have been the same thing. Like, it would have been maybe a bridge between like the Wave Country and the Chunin exams or something.
But this wasn't a bonus chapter, was it? Wasn't this just like an actual...
No, this is an actual chapter. That's the thing. It's like, but that's, I don't know, that's the closest parallel I can think of from Naruto, because I don't think they had like little episodic chapters like this in between more lengthy stretches of even I say lengthy, but even then it's like maybe not even a volume So anyway, into this arc we get introduced to this celebrity character, and everyone's suddenly doing this mildly annoying laugh with the pose, and Ichigo's just like, oh fuck no, I don't want anything to do with this. And then of course they end up at the show anyway because Ichigo gets dragged into it. Fucking Rukia's doing the laugh too, and she's dead to me. Well, of course she's dead. She's a ghost. That's her thing. She's already dead. She's been dead for years.
But she has like no clue what's going on. She's just kind of doing it, just joining in for whatever reason.
Yes. So anyway, you get more antics between all the characters before the arc really starts, and we get a bit more of like, oh, here's how hollows are formed, and like this is how a spirit becomes a hollow. And well, I guess what I also thought was like fine was Don Kanoji. He's like this character who's like we've never seen him before, and he's from the outside world, but he still has experience with hollows, even though he doesn't or spirits rather, even though he has no fucking clue what he's doing. Like because he's like a genuinely good guy. He just has no fucking clue what he's doing, and he's been accidentally making hollows, and so they have but he wants to be a hero. He's trying to be a good dude for the kids and all that.
I did kind of like that, because when they were setting this arc up about like he was creating hollows, and I was like, oh no, he's gonna be some like evil guy, and he's not gonna be a very interesting character. But it's like, no, he's just a misguided idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
It was interesting though to see like. I almost thought you could call this the fighting that happens here sort of like a, maybe not a subversion, but like a goofy take on like the shonen formula, like the way battles work. Because you've got this guy who's stuck on the sidelines, but he's like cheering Ichigo on, but he's acting like, I don't know, Ichigo just like doesn't care. He's just like shrugging it off. He's like, shut up or whatever.
Yeah. Maybe.
And like,
but I was also surprised that like, because there was like one moment where he's like. He gets his sword stuck in the ceiling because of fucking course. He gets his giant fucking sword stuck in his ceiling. What did you fucking expect? Like that was more subversive than anything really. Or I mean, not more subversive. That was a subversion I noticed, I should say, because because he's only fought in like wide open spaces thus far, and so
he's got this
something like this hasn't
sword
had the opportunity to happen. Right, like of course that's what's gonna fucking happen. And then Don Kanoji gets the moment he saves him with because he does like a soul art. Like, he's like this fucking genius, really. Like, he's just like a normal dude who's somehow able to do like shit, even though Ichigo has had Rukia, and he's had her soul energy, so it's like he has all this power with which he doesn't know what he's doing, but he has a mentor. Kanoji's just this fucking dude who's just like there, and he's able to, like, he makes little spirit ball energy that like blows up the roof to free Ichigo's sword. But he did like all, like, I guess, like, I don't see a reason he'd been trained by any character. So I was like, huh, that's interesting. That's an interesting like thing for the setting. Like there's probably like other people like this somewhere. I don't know if we're ever gonna see them. But I guess it also sort of grounds the idea, because like later we get Chad and Orihime get their powers, and so, but like, you know, they have kind of unique powers, but they've also had experience with other hollows and stuff. So it's just like, I guess it just kind of happens, you know. And I think that's fine. Like the world is bigger than just Soul Reapers and hollows, pretty much, and this arc shows that. It's cool. But yeah, I'm not sure if I have much else to say. Like, it's more fighting. The hollow, I don't remember him having a personality, which is fine because it's mostly about Ichigo and Kanonji.
I have a weird sort of feeling about this character, because, like, on one hand, he's funny and I love him, but on the other hand, he's irritating and I hate him.
I don't know about, I can see why, like, I don't know, I mean, I didn't really find the laugh that annoying. I just, like,
well,
I mean,
the laugh part didn't bother me, but I guess it's just, like, I don't know, the way he acts like he, you know, he knows what he's doing and, like, he's the real hero, but he's actually not. Like, on one hand, I do like that. I appreciate how goofy that is. But then on the other, it's like, there's an actual serious conflict, like, happening with this hollow thing, and I'm just like, eh.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I also did think it was like, well, because again, you have, you know, Ichigo's, he's the one who knows what he's doing and is more competent, but then, you know, he doesn't see himself as a hero necessarily. So I mean, I didn't take a lot from that compared to, like, the duty versus honor conflict with the Grand Fisher, but it's something, I suppose.
Maybe the thing, like,
yeah,
with me in these smaller arcs is that, like, I don't know if I'm, like, having a weird disconnect with them just because, like, they're not, like, they're not quite as, like, they're not small enough to be episodic and just, like, okay, this is what it is, but they're also not long enough to be, like, you know, to big really dig deep into some sort of idea. Yeah. They're just kind of there. I mean, so, like, it'll happen, like, this fight thing will happen for a couple of chapters, like maybe 3 or 4 or 5, and then it's just kind of over, and I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, maybe if it was longer, there'd be more time, but I also don't know if Kubo's quite good enough a writer to really, like, recognize that, or, well, no, he definitely knows what he's doing, but you know, to really go in deep, that's what or deeper, I guess.
Yeah, because, like,
a longer arc would be able to explore an idea better, maybe.
But, yeah, because so far I haven't really, like, I can't think of, like, would I want any of these arcs stretched out any longer? Well, no.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, because I don't think I would either. Like, I didn't have any pacing issues with this arc. Like, nothing felt overly long or overly short, you know? And, you know, like, you have, like, little bits like the Cone comedy chapter in between the more serious arcs just to sort of break it up. Like, it's all fine. So.
Yeah, I thought some of these arcs felt a little slow to me, but that's just me, I guess.
Well, are you reading online, right?
Well, yeah, but
or
that, like, I don't know, that didn't really stop me with Naruto.
Okay, that's fine. Well, because I don't know, it's I don't know. Maybe you'd like it. Maybe it'd be faster if it was physical. Who knows? I don't know. It's
well, I don't think it's
something to consider, at least.
I mean, I guess I wasn't thinking of it from, like, I'm not flipping through the pages fast enough, but I mean, maybe that could be.
Who knows? So anyway, I guess we get into Kanonji's not done yet. He shows up again briefly, but I guess we start getting into the Ishida stuff. Say Ichigo and Rukia are running around chasing hollows, but they keep getting destroyed, or they're not there when they get there. What's up with that? Oh yeah, and I guess there's a little bit where they're talking about, like, their grades for a while, and, like, thinking back, I'm like, sure, it was fun, but I guess it's mostly just to establish that, or even then, not even established, because you only see Ishida's name, and then it gets brought up later. But I mean, I'm not sure what it's like. Well, I guess, you know, Ishida wanting to surpass Soul Reapers and not liking Ichigo, like, yeah, that's so he, I don't know, pushes himself up in grade. I don't know, maybe is that what I'm supposed to take from this?
I just remembered seeing, like, that one page where it just kind of had a couple of names that were, like, standing out, and I was like, are these all going to be relevant? Like, are these going to be some character? Because I did think it was interesting how later on there's a little panel where Tatsuki's like, oh, Ichigo, he's hopeless with names and faces. He still doesn't know half the class. And so I'm like, well, so far the relevant characters have all been a part of this one class. So I'm like, are there going to be more people here? Like, are we still going to stick to this setting and there's going to be more characters who pop up later and are relevant?
That's the thing, is because, well, okay, here's, I guess something, is back on the first cover spread, there's like Ichigo's there, and you can see behind him there's like little squares with a bunch of characters who will come to see, and like even Ishida's there, even though he doesn't get introduced for a few volumes. But there's one character there with like light colored hair, and that character doesn't show up for hundreds of chapters. So what I think, but what I'm not sure of is basically, did he have this character in mind for that long, or did he like reuse the design for a different character? Like, did he plan for that character to be another classmate that he never got to introduce? Because again, and that, like you said, with Ichigo not recognizing his classmates, that's like a perfect way to, like he does here with Ishida. Oh, this character's been your classmate the whole time. Ichigo just doesn't know because he's fucking Ichigo. He doesn't give a fuck. So he just reminded me of that. I'm actually gonna include a picture of that panel on the screen right now, just for anyone who knows Bleach, they'll probably recognize him from later on, and anyone who doesn't know Bleach, keep him in mind, because someone who looks like this will show up later. I don't know if it was intended to be the character we got, or if it was a changed plan, so I don't know, I thought it was worth mentioning.
But yeah, I do seeing little open-ended moments like that, like just leaving details open because maybe it could be explored later.
Well, it's like, and we do like long storytelling, the storytelling for the long-running shonen in general, and that's one of the things I like about the medium, is that you can set up these things like ages in advance, and with, and it's just cool having those little details, even whether they're intentional or not, there's still a level of coolness to it, that I appreciate. So anyway, Ichigo and Ishida sort of meet, and Ishida wants to challenge him to a game so they can of killing hollows. It's time to do. Yeah, well, he criticizes Ichigo for like not knowing what the fuck he's doing, but he also does know about Rukia and such. Oh yeah, and I guess like real quick, one thing I noticed while reading is that I thought it was interesting how Kubo uses his sort of cover pages, because like usually the chapter starts with the cover page and then just goes into the chapter. But what Kubo will do is he'll have a few pages of chapter first, like usually 3 or maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, and then he'll have the cover page as sort of like a pace breaker almost, sort of, or he'll use it to jump between scenes. I thought that was mildly interesting, and sort of how he sort of paces his chapters a little bit differently through the cover page. I thought that was mildly interesting.
I did also think it was cool how like at the end of each chapter, like usually at the back there's usually like kind of a blank page. Like I know in Naruto, by the time it got to the end of the series, it was just the Naruto logo.
Yeah.
But like
sometimes
so
put,
far,
like, panels there. Well, he includes little sketches of like characters. Like yes, I know.
Yeah, just kind of like commenting on things that had happened during the chapter, and like this is what this character was doing, or this is
like
how
if
they
you
reacted.
Forgot to, like I remember one with the 4 kids in the Kon bit where they were attacked by the Hollow. Like what happened to them? They just kind of got ignored. So he sort of had a little follow up in the volume. So it's yes, little stuff like that. There have been a few. Like another one I liked was after the Kon comedy chapter where you had Yuzu waking up and finding her stuffed animal gone and being shocked and sad. And I was like, oh no, she's cute. But yeah, Rukia asks Urahara and gang about the Quincy's, and we get a little backstory that gets expanded on later with Ishida, while Ichigo and Ishida start their game with the bait, and game on. The duel is on, as you said. The one I guess one thing I noticed here was chapter title, crossing the Rubicon for chapter 37, and I actually had to look that up, and apparently it's basically a phrase meaning the point of no return, because of I guess in Roman history, Caesar was told not to cross the Rubicon with his army, and he did, basically because it was basically declaring war, and that was the point of no return. So I guess to apply that idea here, like I guess like you have Ishida, him setting the bait was the point of no return for their battles. So I was like, okay, that's a weird way or that's an interesting chapter name, to get across that, or because I don't know how I guess he looked it up or knew about it already, and I was like, okay, I had to look it up, so I wanted to point that out. So, oh yeah, and Ishida mentioned it in the chapter itself too. So okay, but anyway, yeah, you get you start this is when you get a lot of other characters. Like this arc involves everyone, and I definitely think it stands out in that way because it's so much bigger. Like everyone gets these little like mini, sets of chapters. Like, you get the moment earlier, like I was talking about earlier, where Tatsuki's just like, okay, I can see ghosts now. That's a thing. And then the school gets attacked by Hollow and Orihime, and Tatsuki and the well, actually no, that happens a little later, because I think what Chad does happens first. But I guess you sort of have like this like idea of just like protection, like everyone wants to sort of like Chad's protecting Karin and from the Hollow. Well, you sort of have the same thing that you had before with she's his eyes, and so Chad has a habit of carrying small girls on his back, is what I'm starting to notice. There's a trend here. But yeah, well, I guess to compare it, cool, because, you know, he has his Hollow fight, and then Orihime, she's at the school, and there's, like, all the students are getting, like, controlled, and she's, Tatsuki gets hurt, I think, and, you know, they both have to they both come up with these powers to fight. Like, Chad gets his giant fist, and Orihime gets her fairies from her hairpin, and... Like, I guess, well, to juxtapose them against each other, you have Chad, like, he wants the power to protect, you know, because he gets a little flashback with his grandfather, you know, saying, like, you know, he was told not to hurt things because he's big, and, you know, you have great power, so use your great power, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, so he's even had that because, again, he's so fucking big and strong that, you know, he was probably pretty dangerous as growing up. So he kind of had to check that, I suppose. And then Orihime, she's been useless. Like, she's always been protected by Tatsuki. So, but she wants to be able to sort of step up. Like, she has a Sakura moment where she wants to step up and, you know, protect the people who care for her. But I'd have no idea how long that's gonna last.
Yeah.
I hope it does.
I did kind of like the moment where Tatsuki, like, she doesn't have any superpowers or anything. She's just a badass.
Yes, Tatsuki.
Just fighting these, like, zombie-controlled people, just taking them out with her karate fighting skills. It was cool.
Yeah, and I also kind of like sort of how, like, well, it was the way he defined Orihime's abilities, where she rejects, like, she can, as a shield that rejects outward, she has a healing ability that rejects inward, and then she has a cutting ability that rejects both. And I was, both ways, and I was like, oh, okay, sure. And she, well, though, I don't know, she has, like, her 6 fairies, and I don't know where her abilities come from, so I don't know, like, what are these 6 fairies, like, what are they? They're her soul, was it?
Well, they came from her, like, hairpin, I thought.
Yeah, well, yeah, but
so,
it's like...
I had thought, like, what, did the brother give her the hairpin? Because, like, that would be her protection, like, that was what he wanted, like, he wanted to protect her, so he gave her this magic hairpin.
Oh yeah, they also mention Ichigo, and because they say that they were born because of him, Ichigo, because again the spirit energy. I guess that's sort of like, I guess maybe the hairpin absorbed the spirit energy or something, and because it's also connected to her brother, I know, who is also spirit. I don't know. Just accept it. Just don't think about it. Don't think. Oh no.
Point. It's too soon. It's too soon for that. Well, I mean, at least like with Bleach, this is very clearly a soft magic system. Like there's
right. That's a good way to. Right. Yes, I've been talking about that myself.
Things just happen because they happen.
Yeah, yes. Like, I mean, not that there aren't rules, but it's like at least with this aspect. Oh, this is like, it's also untouched ground with like humans having their own like. I feel like Ichigo's like the first of his kind. You know, I don't imagine most Soul Reapers are ghosts who become Soul Reapers, but he's a human who became a Soul Reaper. He's Danny Phantom. So yeah, you get the fight, and they both overpower their opponents because they're really strong and it's cool. And yeah, but then they get picked up by Urahara, who mentions like they're, you know, sort of they have a choice kind of to sort of like, you know, their powers are like a key to open a door, and they have the choice to go through it or step back. Sort of, do they enter this magical world of spirits, or do they stay out of it? And well, see, what I thought was kind of weird, because you have this sort of idea of protection, and also like, I don't want to say friendship, but I guess I could say friendship, but sort of like, you know, being united and being independent. Like, you're like, well, because with Ishida, you know, he doesn't like Soul Reapers, so he sort of wants to prove himself above Soul Reapers. But, you know, Ichigo is obviously like, well, your grandfather just wanted us to work together, right? So fucking calm down and let's work together. You know, so I kind of figured that, like, oh, Chad and Orihime are going to come in, so there's going to be this, like, you know, mutual desire to protect each other and fight one another. But no. Instead, Ichigo and Ishida just sort of handle it, basically.
No. The other two just stare at the window and say, well, we're going to watch this play out, and then we'll decide.
Right, so I was kind of expecting a bit more of a character moment from them, which maybe we'll get in the next arc, because are they going to go to Soul Society with everyone? Maybe? I don't know. I don't remember, actually. But I guess what you do have, well, I guess you get the Quincy, his flashback. I mean, I already kind of got the idea. It's not super hard. You know, his grandfather wanted to work with Soul Reapers. Soul Reapers are very, I don't know, they seem to want full power, like full control over the this sort of world. They just sort of like, no one else but them is allowed to do much, kind of. There's a, like, you know, they did the mod souls, and then no, these are no good, we need to destroy them. And did they kill the Quincy's, I think? Yeah. Because the Quincy's destroy souls utterly, while Soul Reapers sort of salvage the souls of the Hollows. So, and that there's
because they got to keep the two worlds balanced. Because if you just kill the soul, then it doesn't go anywhere, and then there's too many souls in the human world, and everything gets fucked somehow because balance. Yeah. The fate of the world is already at stake.
I mean, so I guess what do you think about the actual, like? I'm trying to think if we had anything else to say on that, or do we have anything else to say on that before the end of the fight?
I do. Maybe I'm reading too much into it already because this is only the first stretch of chapters. But
that's fine. That makes two of us. Go on.
the little line about how like being around Ichigo activated their latent inborn powers, as it's described. That was a bit of a red flag for me, because I'm thinking like, so, and especially with like the nature of Ichigo's powers, like he just has all this strength. So it's like, granted, he will have to work to try to control that and like hone it better, but it sort of seems to set up the idea that your potential is just based off of whatever you have. Like that, like...
Yeah, well, I mean, I also mentioned it before, because, with Orihime and Chad, they also had their sort of, or that's what you just said. But it's like, it's like how much, like, what I'm also kind of wondering is how much, like, coincidence is going on here. Like, because I know, like, there are, like, mastermind-type characters, so I'm just wondering, like, well, because, like, Rukia chose of her own volition to give Ichigo his Soul Reaper powers, but I'm wondering if, like, someone had, like, some master plan to make sure that happens, and I'm like, okay. I have no idea if that's the case. This is just like, well, it's just the thing with shonen storytelling, because this shit happened in Naruto like 5 times, like with Madara and Obito and Kaguya, and it might be wise to have that in mind for like thinking about this now, like what like, because Rukia giving Ichigo his powers was of her own volition. You know, there shouldn't have been any mastermind like plan there. Like maybe the Hollow was sent there for, I don't know, maybe just sort of opening myself up to the possibility. Like I haven't been spoiled on this if this is the case. I'm just, like I said, opening myself up to that possibility.
And especially considering that there are all these people like in Ichigo's class. Like you've got the Quincy there, you've got Chad who Badu, he's got spirit energy, and Orihime, who has spirit energy. I don't know, it just seems a little concerning, because like the way it was described as them having these powers, like they were just born with them, kind of goes against what, or at least the idea that Naruto seemingly was trying to explore there, and what a lot of other stories like it will try to explore, that like anybody could be this thing, and it's like about, I mean, it could be something kind of like Nen or like Chakra, where it's like everybody has it, but who can actually use it?
Well, because I mean, to think about like Ishida versus Ichigo, like Ichigo's very much like, Ichigo's like almost a natural born genius, while Ishida is the one who trained and like, because he has much more nuance and control over his abilities. Like when Ichigo overextends his energy and nearly dies, Ishida's the one who saves it. Well, Ishida was both the one who like informed him how to do that on accident. Like Ichigo's like, oh hey, I can do that, and he does it because he's this fucking talented motherfucker. But Ishida is also the one who saves him because he knows more about the mechanics and he knows how it works, so he's able to come up with this way to make sure Ichigo doesn't fucking die, like on the spot. So it's a bit of a flip. You normally expect the hot-headed main character to be the hard worker, but Ichigo, like, not that he doesn't have to learn his abilities and stuff, like he has been, but he also has, again, he has no fucking clue what he's doing, but he's still really fucking strong. Like, this is like the Menos Grande. He's like this big daddy long dick, the massive fucking hollow, and he just fucking like wrecks it. Once he like, I can focus my power like this, and he just does it, and he spooks it off. But before we get to that point, because I thought that's what I was mentioning before. I was expecting like them teamwork, friendship to save the day, but Ichigo just does it, and he still gets saved because Ishida wanted to help him. Like he might have died otherwise, because Urahara kept Ruki out of it. And that's when I think of the fucking mastermind shit. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, Urahara? You're being sneaky and shady. Like your eyes are literally shaded by your hat. What am I supposed to take from this? Because like I feel like he could have just done the team attack. Like you even had like Ichigo, Gatai, fusion. He put his sword on Ishida's head and tied it there. So I was like, that's pretty funny. So because I was like, oh, are they gonna do a team attack? But no, he just does it alone. So I don't know. It's interesting. There's some neat stuff going on, but I suppose. But
I just hope that is how Ichigo will be portrayed. That like he is just like he's unfamiliar with with his abilities, so that's why he doesn't know how to use them properly. But like you said, he quickly kind of picks up like, this is how I contain my powers and use them in a massive burst when I didn't know how to do that. But if they're
if this was like zombie powder, then it would have been done to make him look really cool, and there would have been no consequences, and he would have done it on purpose because he's just that cool.
Yeah.
But like in this case, like even comparing it to like Fairy Tail, is like, well, because he overuses his powers and he nearly dies, but there's actually like something comes of it. It's not just to say like, whoa, isn't it cool that he expended so much energy? There's actually it doesn't affect like the fighting. Like there isn't like an enemy nearby who's about to kill him because he's weak. But you still get this character moment from Ishida as he decides like he saves him. And it's fine. Like I was fine with this, even though I've seen this similar trope used worse in other ways. So. Did you have anything to say on that, like, specifically?
Well, I don't know. I'll be interested to see, like, how because, like, Ichigo's got to go up against conflicts, and if he's such an overpowered guy, then, like, he'll have to kind of take the role of the underdog at some point. Like, somebody's got to be more powerful than him or whatever. So I'll be interested to see how they play that, how they work that, because of how overwhelmingly strong this guy is compared to a lot of the guys he's gone up against so far.
Right. Well, because like to talk about like One Piece briefly, because it's actually kind of similar in that Luffy's just way stronger than a lot of the guys he fights early on, but he's held back by sort of his cockiness, his recklessness. He's going easy because he doesn't give a shit. Kind of, and that's actually like a character flaw that gets explored upon later. But with Ichigo, he doesn't know what he's doing, so to speak, even though he's strong. So again, it's what will sell it is how it gets expanded on later. Like, is there going to be a moment where it's like imagine this, but if he didn't suffer at all, like he immediately knows how to focus his power and use these really strong attacks, and he's just like fine, and he can just do it all the time. Like he can't do this again. That's the thing. Like, we know that, or at least not like this. He's got to learn to hone his powers even stronger, or even more well, so he can. But he can't. So things are getting established in a way that it doesn't just break the rest of the manga.
No.
Or at least from what we see now. Yeah, and that's what's good.
My stuff is less of like, oh, this is like a complaint and more of like a concern.
Oh no, I didn't say it was. No, exactly. I'm praising it.
I'm just trying to like give my perspective for the viewers, so no one's like, oh, Mathwiz is already saying that Bleach is awful.
Well, yeah, I don't think either of us think it's bad, but and again, it's up to Kubo to sort of like take it from here and sort of capitalize on what he's established and hopefully improve as a storyteller, because I did think there's nuggets of good stuff here that under a better writer would have even been like really nuanced or strong or good, but not that they were bad. It's just like, I could see where it could be improved on a bit, the art's good, the comedy's fun, but that's not enough to carry a 700 chapter series.
Yeah. I mean, I did think it was kind of interesting that with the way Ishida was set up here, he seemed to be like or at least he definitely made himself come off as he was like way more talented, like way more gifted than Ichigo. But of course, at the very end, his power is dwarfed compared to Ichigo's.
Yes. Well, that's why I call him he's the hard worker character. He's just been working at it for longer, so he comes across as almost because he's like the rival, or at least thus far. He's the Sasuke to Ichigo's Naruto. They even have the same like light hair, dark hair, cool and serious versus hothead. but at the same time, it is kind of flipped a bit because Ishida comes across to me as more of the hard worker, while Ichigo's the talented genius thus far. So
well, yeah, because the arc starts off where Ishida is just like one-shotting them left and right, and Ichigo's running around like, oh, I gotta find him and slice him.
What the fuck am I doing? Yeah, exactly. Well, because it's like Ishida like set up a challenge that he has like an inherent advantage in just because he uses ranged attacks. But also I did mention before, but like how his like finger got bloody from just how long he was fighting.
Yeah.
And like there was like a moment where he slipped off of his string, and I was like, ugh, you know, it hurt me a little bit, you know, just a little cringe in pain as I connected.
But I thought that was pretty cool, because like that was just
yes.
You know, the wear and tear of his powers. I was like, yeah, that's cool, because this guy's like, he's been doing this for so long, like his fingers are all bloodied, but he's still going. And that's cool.
Yeah, and of course, even to the point that his arms are getting torn up as he's helping Ichigo, you know, because again, he wants to, their rival, you know, the only I can beat you kind of rival trope that you get, where that's usually how like the antagonist rival steps in to help the hero in their time of need, like, only I'm the one who's gonna beat you, that kind of stuff. So it's fine. You know, tropes are fine.
Although I will be interested to see the longevity of this character, considering he has already been surpassed by Ichigo in power, and the very next arc well.
Yeah. All right. So I guess are we done with the Ishida's arc? And because there's one little short bit before we're finished. So so yeah, everything sort of gets like wrapped up back to the. It's back to the status quo. Ishida fell down some stairs. Very painful stairs. Oh yeah, here's the mistranslation I was mentioning before. The cat comes in, the talking cat, and Urahara calls it Mr. Yoriichi. Presumably Yoriichi-san. Yoriichi's a girl. They probably didn't know at this point. I just remember hearing the character's name, and I had a face to attach it, and I'm like, wait, and I check, and yeah, Yoriichi's a girl. So, minor mistranslation. Again, they couldn't have known, but it's not major. I just thought I'd point it out.
Well, yeah, because the what do they call it? The ending, is it suffix? Is that what I'm thinking of? Whatever the term
suffix?
is, what do they call it? Huh?
Honorific?
Yeah, the honorific. That's what I meant. Yeah, because san isn't gender specific, so.
Yes, exactly.
That'll raise an interesting question later, though. It's like, what, Mister?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so yeah, they're back to the status quo. They're you know, Ishida's part of the gang. Or Ichigo drags him into the gang, as awkward as it is.
I like how Ichigo just says to his friend, he's like, say something funny.
Which is never a good idea, because it's you can't just Mathwiz, say something funny. No, it's good luck. But anyway, so yeah, Rukia, she's, you know, again, that sort of like duty versus the duty conflict of duty comes up, because now now that the Soul Society has sort of come back, she decides that, you know, she's gonna choose them, but she's gonna cut herself off of the human world. So
yeah, because she knows they'll go after Ichigo, and she doesn't want them to go after Ichigo, so she sacrifices herself, basically.
Exactly. She even like tries to like be the antagonist. Like at the end, she's like, Ichigo, fuck off. I don't like you. You're bad. And then it's like, okay, I've seen this exact thing done better. People who know One Piece will know exactly what I'm talking about. Not that this is bad. It's just like, I'm comparing it to like my favorite arc in my favorite series, so good luck,
yeah,
Kubo.
That's rough. But yeah, because like she does say that, and you can see like she's kind of teary-eyed when she looks back, but
yeah. But it's like, well, and again too, the thing about the One Piece comparison is that the One Piece arc actually happened later. Like this was serialized first, so it's not even like, oh, Oda did it first. Like he didn't. But I just do think he did it better. But it's like, again, it's not really a fair comparison, because I don't care for Bleach as much as I do One Piece, so obviously I'm going to feel that way. But again, I don't think any of this is like bad. I just thought I'd point out the similarity for anyone who recognizes it. But and of course and then retroactively you'll get to sort of compare it from the other direction, since you'll have this whole arc in mind. Because that's the thing, is like maybe it'll go be gone into more in depth later in the Soul Society arc, because this is what's happening. You know, we're setting up that conflict for the next arc. So I guess we could have already cut it off here, but I felt like, I don't know, we have a nice cliffhanger to end off on, you know? But yeah, I guess before we get to there, you know, Ishida comes in, and I like the little gag where he's like, oh, I definitely didn't bring this bag from my house and pretend that I was out shopping.
Just so I had an excuse to hunt Soul Reapers.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like that is the worst excuse ever.
Yeah, Ishida's a dork. He's cool. But and of course we get the names of the Soul Reapers, Renji and Byakuya, who's Rukia's brother. Though I guess one thing I guess we'll talk about it later. It's fine. They're brother and sister. That's all we need to know. But yeah, well, because I guess you were talking about how like Ishida got wrecked, but like the thing is he's wounded too, so I wouldn't necessarily say he's at full potential.
Well, yeah, that's fair to consider.
Yeah, there's room to say like, okay, maybe we're gonna get a Renji Ishida rematch in the next arc, and Ishida will perform better. So, because like I said, he is weakened. But and we cut back to Ichigo, and he's looking at Rukia's note. And she's fucking Rukia. She does this like goofy fucking like riddle thing with a secret message that's not really that hard to actually uncover, but it's just like, it's Rukia. She's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Urahara comes in because he knows Urahara. Like that's the thing. That's why I consider him like potentially the secret manipulator character. Is he's just like he's got this like omniscience to him. Like he's like, oh yeah, what's up? You need help? Ichigo?
Yeah, he always seems to show up at the right moment.
Exactly, and because he did it too with the kanji stuff, where he helped Ichigo get into his Soul Reaper form when Rukia was tied up, or with the guards and stuff. But
oh yeah, that's right.
Yes, so he's got that timeliness of him that just makes me suspicious of him. Okay, like come on, his eyes are in shadow. Don't think that I've like been spoiled on this thing specifically. I just what am I supposed to assume, right? I mean, I'm not wrong, right?
I'm watching you, Wazowski. Always watching. We've got our eyes on this hat and clogs guy.
Yeah, we're watching him. So anyway, Kohn's sad that he doesn't get to go help Rukia, and Ichigo goes, he fights with Renji. He kind of gets wrecked, but then he gets unwrecked. Because, like Renji does this thing where he transforms his sword. Is that Bankai? I don't know if you've heard the term Bankai.
I've heard the term, but I have no idea what it means.
Gotcha. I think that's Bankai, which is basically everyone sort of has a superpower, I guess, or a couple superpowers, and one of them is called Bankai. So I keep that in mind. We'll learn about it next stretch. Maybe not in the next stretch of chapters, but in the next arc. But yeah, Ichigo and Renji fight for a bit, and Rukia kind of helps Ichigo. Oh yeah, this weird thing where his the string on his sword gets cut, and he somehow gets like superpowered like a boost. Like, is it like a seal on his sword? And like he's even weak. Like, see, now we're having this sort of like the QB was only at half potential moment where I'm just like, how strong is Ichigo? Like, what the fuck? Like, was he, even when he did that super strong attack, was he already like weaker than normal? Like, what's happening here?
See, I wasn't sure if that breaking was like, if that was an example of like, oh, well, now his power is unleashed, or if it was like this was a restraint on his power.
Right, like I'm not sure what to say. Like, it's obviously not supposed to be explained at this point. It's just one of those things we need to keep in mind. But if it's like worst case scenario is like if he removes it, he's even stronger and like
I don't know if that was maybe like.
But then at the same time, like I'm worried about the power scaling basically, because even then, like even after he gets his power boost, he just gets fucking destroyed by Byakuya, who just teleports behind him and just fucking like one shots him pretty much. Like, oh, you're too slow even to fall, and like goddamn. So. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to take from that yet. Again, I'm not gonna.
I don't know if maybe that was supposed to be like a follow up to the previous arc where like he's like you have to control your power, but like it doesn't have a faucet. So like how can I decrease it? So like was that his faucet? Was that the limiter?
Yeah, but it's weird that it's like a physical thing on a sword rather than something inward, which would I don't know. We'll have to wait and give our full judgment on that later. So all I'll say for now is I am a little worried about the power scaling. But we'll see how it turns out.
Although the shape of the one guy's sword, this is a little off topic, but how did you feel about Gamma's chainsaw sword from Zombie Powder?
I totally forgot that it was a chainsaw sword because Gamma just like whenever Gamma was on screen and like fighting my brain, I could just hear my brain like trying to seep out of my ears. I don't know. I didn't. He had a chainsaw sword. Cool. I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm trying to block out zombie powder out of like my memory.
Yeah, that's a smart decision.
I'd rather read Bleach.
Because it just reminded me, this guy's sword, how he had like the sharp
It's
sword,
like the separated,
not sharp.
yes, like,
That's yes, a sharp sword. He had a sharp sword.
you don't say. Yeah, well, it's like a separated like set of scythes almost, or it's got like jagged edges on it, kind of.
It's got teeth.
Yeah, it's teeth. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Teeth. But anyway, yeah, Rukia. She saves him, but then she's like, no, know your place, boy. I'm evil now. But obviously she isn't. And then she leaves. They go through the door. Ichigo's bleeding on the ground, and we're done. Uh-oh, big cliffhanger. What's gonna happen? No, that was sounding really sarcastic. I didn't mean it to like negatively, but they're obviously gonna go chase her. And what I don't remember is like who's coming with, because I obviously think like all these characters that have been established, Ishida, Kon, Orihime. Well, no, Kon might have to stay. Well, that's the other thing is like I feel like how long are they gonna be at Soul Society, and how is that gonna affect? Because the status quo of them just being in the human world has been established so much. Like I feel like it would be notable that like suddenly like half the fucking these 4 kids are just gone for like weeks. Like how are they gonna, or is it gonna be like a Soul Society is like there's a time thing where they can be in there for like a year and it's only like a week in real life or something, like I don't know.
The Hyperbolic Soul Society Chamber. Yeah.
Soul Society Chamber. Oh yeah, that's a can of worms right there.
Yeah, you're thinking this, and I'm thinking like, okay, well the Soul Society arc, because I know it's like the next 2 sessions we have are the Soul Society.
Yes.
So I'm thinking like once that ends, like we've already got this status quo. Depending on who goes with, like after this arc, how do you kind of go back to this? Like, how are those characters gonna be like? How are they gonna be relevant again?
Yeah.
If Kubo even tries to keep them relevant.
Yeah, it's a long arc, so it's like, how do they just like, back to the school antics? And I don't think that's gonna. And if they do, from what I know, that doesn't really stick for very long. Except for there is one arc later, I guess, that takes place in the human world again, maybe. And I guess most arcs start in the human world. Like, so I don't know. It's we'll just have to keep that in mind. So. Yeah, I have a couple. I do have one thing from a plot reveal later that I still want to say, but I'm gonna say it when we learn about it because yeah. So I guess we're done for now. Do you have any closing thoughts on the first arc of Bleach? I feel like we've already given enough of our opinions, but if there's anything else you wanted to say.
Well, maybe as less of a closing thought, but more of a foreshadowing to next time. I had already said this to you in private, but this certainly felt like this is the big turning point. Like this is going to be the real start of the journey. This is when things kick off.
Yeah.
And I'm not super invested. Like that beginning felt a little clunky to me, so I'm skeptical but hopeful. So
yeah, I'm not sure if I'd say see with my investment, it's I'm not sure if I'm invested in the story so much as I'm invested in the idea of me finally reading Bleach after so long. Because again, I've already gone through this material before, so I don't know. I want to see what happens. I do want to read more of Bleach.
Well, yeah, same here. Like I'm happy
to
finally read Bleach as well because it's one of the big stories that everyone likes to talk about, and I haven't read it.
Yeah.
But on the same,
and there's definitely things to like, more than enough things to like. The question is like where, like that's the biggest concern is where do we go from here?
Mm-hmm.
Because just knowing how the arcs are structured, knowing some of the general complaints I've been hearing. Oh yeah, that's okay. I should have mentioned this earlier, but so yeah, Byakuya teleports behind Ichigo. This is kind of just a meme in general, just like asterisk teleports behind you, asterisk just like. Because it's just, I'm going to keep a teleports behind you count for Bleach. Like, every time it happens, I'm going to keep count. So, let's see how much, because I know it's not the last time it happens. Just the character moving so fast that they're suddenly behind the character they're fighting. So, yeah, let's count. Alright, so yeah, I think I've said everything on Bleach that I have to say for now. And I'm curious to see where it goes from here, because I can see ways in which it'll be solid or good or at least decent, and I can see ways in which it can fail utterly.
Yeah, because like for me, I said that the fun moments are fun, the serious moments are so, and I know the story is going to become more serious, so I might become more
jaded. Yeah. I guess we're gonna expect a few Bleach rants.
Yeah, because like the difference with Naruto was that like the earlier portion was goofier, but I wasn't super invested in the goofiness of Naruto. Whereas with Bleach, I am. So if that starts to be stripped away, what am I going to be left with? I don't know.
Right. Well, like it's like with Naruto, the parts you liked were expanded on later, which is why you liked part 2 better ultimately. So yeah, I gotcha. Anyway, all right. So yeah, thank you for listening, and we will catch you 2 weeks from now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.